That's the thing to remember, particularly, all levels of practitioner, is people forget when something improves because they focus on the next thing.
Yeah.
So if they say nothing changed, it's like there's not really a time that you'll ever see nothing at all change.
Absolutely.
Something always changes.
If they've done the diet things you've asked them to do, if they've taken the herbs or the supplements, the compounds, there will have been a change somewhere. It might be that they've gone, I've now, 2 days later, help, I'm now going to the toilet 20 times a day. And you think, okay, let's go back and revisit the compound. Let's go back and revisit what it is. Okay, let's quarter the dose. Let's stop it for 2 days and then restart at a quarter of the dose and see where we go, because it might be that I'm pushing it a bit too hard. But there's always a change, and they have forgotten it because, as you said, they're concentrating on the next thing. They've just moved on. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. Now, if you've been listening in over the last month, I've had Dr. Brad McEwen in to speak with us, and we've had some really exciting conversations. So he's very kindly agreed to come back. And today we thought that we would talk about prescribing and what to do when people walk in, because Brad's been in clinical practice for how many decades now? Should we actually tell people?
A long time.
A long time.
So it was 14th of January 1999 was my first patient.
There you go. Well,
I can tell you exactly everything about her case as well if I had to. It was a big day.
Maybe we'll save that for another podcast. Yes. I'm going to line you up again. But you have been in practice a while now. What can we say? A positive amount of time.
Yes.
And I don't want to make you feel old. So a positive amount of time. And part of that, of course, is seeing that person for the first time. They walk in the door, and what do you do? What is your system? How do you deal with the acute and the chronic client that walks in your door? What is your system of attack?
So my system of attack is always greet, always say hi. So when it's in a physical clinic, hi and shake their hand, and like pre-COVID and do all that. And even or as a Zoom consult or online consult, you still ask.
Yeah.
And something I started doing very early on was, how was your day?
Yeah.
And it's genuine. It's like, how's your day? Because people don't get asked that.
Yeah.
They go, yeah, good, thanks. And it's like, it's not what I asked. It's like, how was your day? What'd you do? And a couple of times it's backfired where I had this, before I forget to say, it was this girl, she was a 23-year-old, actress. And she came in, she was on a couple of big movies and TV shows. And I said, how was your day? And she started breaking down, crying and everything else. I went, am I going to keep asking that same question, or has that just done it for me? But we had to have a good talk, and we, our health professional holistic view.
Yep.
And I had a good chat to her. She had like a really hard scene and everything else like that. And it just got to her. And I went, let's talk about it. Yep. So I still do that. I still ask, how was your day? Because people aren't used to it. So you do your greeting, and then essentially, it sounds funny, what can I do for you today?
Yeah.
And
that sounds exactly like mine. Mine is slightly different to yours. Mine is, you found me all right then, and you were okay getting here. How did you, how's your day going? So if it's just a slight tweak on your words, exactly the same. And then, tell me why you've come to see me.
Yeah. So we have similar, because mine's what can I do for you today, or what can we do today, or something. So depending on the person. So you can see we have had different training and have very similar responses. And that's the exciting thing. And then they start talking. Now, I know people are, typing on a typewriter and writing down every single word. And I'm like, you're not paying attention to the person. So I use my memory a lot for things. So I can tell you that, that lady who came and saw me on the 14th of January, 1999, I had 4 children, and I can tell you everything right now because it's in my memory, it's in my mind.
Yep.
Pretty much most patients are, because you connect. And So I don't take a lot of notes. I take notes later. So I put them into my memory bank, as I call it. So once it's in the memory bank or the safe or whatever you like to call it, I start processing and I ask various different questions to get down to why they're here.
Yeah.
Tell me more about yourself. So they might say, I'm tired, weak, fatigue or anything, or how long has it been going for? What's the intensity level? Where on your body does it hurt? Or, you go through your training that you learned, that long acronym. I shortened it over the years. And you get the information very quickly. And it's an art to get answers out of people quickly when it's a 10-year story they're trying to tell you, and just to get to the bottom of it. And you let people talk. They give you all the answers. And when they stop talking, you don't talk.
Yeah.
Because they're just taking a breath. They're working out, what can I say next? I feel comfortable to tell the next part of my story. And then I have and I just said it then, I have the and then moment. So people say something to me and I go, and then?
Yeah.
And they keep talking. And then they stop and they look at you and you go, and then? And then what happened? And they end up telling you so much more. And you got this whole picture of them in your mind, of they're presenting to you with tiredness, weakness, fatigue, a sore big right toe, which is random, like all these other little bits and pieces. And the big toe could be gout, or it could be just because they stubbed it the day before, but they remembered to tell you. So all this information gives you their story that you can then start prescribing, putting your plan together. And of course, you've got your diet and lifestyle, all the classic things that you're going to do, but you need to start honing in. Is it an acute case? Is it a chronic? Or is it a subacute? A combination of everything? Is it all the above? And, how do we prescribe? Bring it back. What is their presenting condition? What's their presenting symptoms? How have they presented to you? I'm not always interested in the disease name. I don't need to know that. Well, sorry, I'll rephrase. You do need to know that for your notes, but you need to know more about how they feel and the signs and the symptoms and everything else. And that's what you're looking at holistically. You're looking at the person and how they feel and how they are in their world and the world around them. And then from there, you start thinking, jotting in your notes going, that's vitamin C, that's echinacea, that's ashwagandha, that's, everyone does that sort of mind mapping as you go through. And I've got a massive mind map that will need a day to go through. And when I'm mind mapping, I'm planning my next 3 to 5 treatments, 3 to 5 appointments already as I'm progressing through. I'm thinking, how's this person going to react? What I'm going to do next? This is going to change. And I know I'm going to change it anyway, but I'm going to think of it now. And then I start planning out their whole health journey from the first appointment. And I always prescribe on the first appointment. I know some people will want to, research and read up on things or wait for test results, which is fine. But I always like to give and do something on the first one so they have something to go with. Even if you don't want to prescribe a herbal or a nutritional, you can prescribe, an improved diet.
Yeah, totally.
I had a patient had 40 cups of coffee a day. 40. What am I going to say? Let me think about it. Or am I going to say, let's start working on a plan to reduce the amount of coffee you have in the next 2 weeks and reevaluate at the next appointment. You don't need to think too hard about that. And then you start working on the rest of the signs and symptoms and everything. And you get this mind map together. And I don't know, we can make up a case right now of what I'm thinking is, let's just say it is tiredness, weakness, and fatigue. And it's a physical, mental, it may be, pandemic-itis or something like that. Everything's just getting too much for them. And you can't, for me personally, I can't say to someone, go away and then I will plan it for you. It's like, we can do something now. Even if you prescribe ashwagandha to work on the nervous system, support the energetic pathways, adrenal function, etc., you've done something for them. You've spoken with them like we are now in a nice calm tone. You've spoken with them, and then you've given them some diet and lifestyle tips. Tips on meditation.
Very similar here, Brad. The silence.
And it's simple.
Silence is something they haven't had. They haven't told their whole story to a practitioner or to anybody in a long time or ever, because they go to the GP. I love the GPs, no disrespect to anyone, but they go with the symptom. GP's got
Yeah.
15 minutes. They go with a symptom, then they go with a different symptom. They go with another symptom. The GP will look back and go, you've had this. They know what they are. Right, we're going to go this way now, or let's send you off for a scan. But they haven't been able to release that emotional discussion of what's going on with them. So the GP knows what's happening. They're on the right track. Everything's maybe going well, or maybe they don't want to go to the GP, whatever it is, but they haven't had that emotional release. Their partner doesn't want to hear their story again. Their partner knows. Their friends don't want to hear their story again. They know. So they haven't been able to share that story and to have that person who just sits there in silence and just says, tell me more. And, sometimes, you might be bringing them back on track, but really, even then, my first 15 minutes is them speaking.
Yeah.
The only people I struggle with are lawyers and accountants, because they bill by the hour. So when you say, how was your day? They'll say, fine. And you'll say, why have you come to see me? I wrote it in the notes.
Yeah, I sent them through already.
It's like, oh, this is blood out of a stone. What do you do for a living? I'm a lawyer. Okay, right. Now, tell me your story.
I'm going to prescribe your lawyer formula. No.
Yeah, here's my lawyer formula for you.
And that's the benefit of health professionals. I'd like to use the phrase, we are specialists in our fields, or experts in our fields, and GPs do a great job for what they do. And people go to a GP typically for a specific reason.
Yes.
A symptom or something. Yeah. When they come to a natural medicine health professional or practitioner like what we do and what we're talking about, it's the biggest story. They come to us maybe because they've been everywhere else first and nothing's changed. And we sit down and listen to them and see, and then what happened, and then what happened with this. And they tell their story, you get the bigger picture. And then it could be as simple as, this person is tired, weak and fatigued, using that example that I'll follow through on now. And it could be just due to their digestion, could be due to a nutrient deficiency, could be due to too much stress, not enough sleep. You and I could rattle off 50 reasons why someone does feel tired, weak and fatigued. But that's what we do. We're the archaeologist and the technician and the plumber and the sparky, like all these different professions all in one, trying to find the cause. Yeah. And yes, it may be remember one of the podcasts we talked about B2 and B3 for Krebs cycle. Then we talked about nutritional biochemistry. It could be simple, or I shouldn't say simple, but it could be as simple as that. That's a simple nutrient deficiency due to poor diet or something else that's going on in their life. And therefore we can work with it. Or it could be something a lot more deeper. And that's where we listen to them. And sometimes it could take multiple appointments. Like I had this patient many, many years ago that had very bad cystic acne. Yep. And 50-cent coin size on his back sometimes. Like that's a massive size. Yeah. And no one could help him. No one could get it reduced. Yeah. So what's happening in there? There's a lot of emotional stress and distress that he hadn't even told his parents that he was being bullied. Yeah. And he couldn't go to the beach because he'd have to wear a shirt because he was embarrassed about it. Yeah. The shirt would get wet, the shirt would dry and stick. Yeah. And when he went to take off the shirt, the salt water would stuck. So therefore he'd rip off, Yeah. And so I don't want to talk disgustingly, but do you know what I mean? Like this, it's quite extreme. So he was very embarrassed and holding everything in, and he was tight and tense and everything. Yeah. And it's like, you're sitting there and relaxing. And same with kids. Yeah. If a child comes in, let's just say a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or anything like that, anyone under the age of 18, ask them. I always say, well, how's your day? How are you feeling? The parents look at you. It's like, oh, well, I'm asking them. You're telling their story because they probably can't. Yeah. But you've brought them in. But I'm still going to ask them, how are you today? And I still remember the one time this little boy was in, he was 8, and just sort of sitting there like a tensed up, statue. And, his mum was saying, oh, he's not good at this and he's stressed at that and he's not behaving well. And I thought I was saying, this poor kid's been suppressed so bad. Mm. And then she took a phone call. Then she moved to the side of the room. Yeah. So, because she can take it. He's looked at me. So I know people can't watch, but he's got his head down and he looks up at me and he says, I still remember this. He goes, I hate when she talks about me like that. Always putting me down, makes me feel so sad. I don't feel happy in my life about it. This is 8-year-old. And I feel really bad. And then she turned around, his head went back down, he went silent. Yeah. And I said to myself, thank you, whoever called that phone right then.
Yeah.
because I just got more information in that 20 seconds than what
Yeah.
I would have got in the whole consultation, because she was
Yeah.
doing all the talking.
Yep.
So when I prescribed to him, because he
Yeah.
was looking at me, and I sort of gave him the wink later on, as in,
Yeah.
I've got you, buddy.
Yeah.
I've got this. I'm formulating. I put things in there to strengthen his resolve,
Yeah.
his nervous system,
Yeah.
because it was chronic long term.
Yeah.
And it's because he didn't feel happy.
Mm.
Everyone thought he was being a lazy. He's 8.
Yeah.
He's 8, tired, weak, fatigued, and all
Yeah.
these other symptoms that you'd see in a 50, 60-year-old, if you know what I mean, an 8-year-old. He just gets seen as lazy and just doesn't want to do anything in his life.
Yeah.
Well, he's 8.
Yeah.
So what do you plan? So you do your foundational stuff that anyone can do.
Yep.
And because his acute and chronic stresses were combined, that's like, wow, how do I do that? How do I do both? And it's like, well, you can, because it's similar or the same herbs, similar in same ingredients, it's the frequency.
Yep.
So typically with acute prescribing, if it's a cold or flu, I might do, if it's liquid herbal, it might be 5 to 10 mils, 5 to 6, 7 times a day.
Yeah.
You smash it in, and it's going to really make a big difference.
Yep.
Chronic long-term immunity might only be twice a day.
Yep.
Because it's longer term. You can't flog the soldiers if you're not building them, and that's the immune system. Think of it as being soldiers. If the soldiers are not being built fast enough, you can't just keep flogging them into the ground. So you need to build them up and strengthen. And that's what I did with that boy. And the other person we spoke about, another podcast about, remember the bones, osteoporosis.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a while ago we talked about that. That kind of thing, you take your time and you work holistically. And if I did what I would have done without knowing the extra information, she would have been in so much pain.
Yep.
So it's piecing and putting the puzzle together, as we like to do.
Yeah.
And then get the magnifying glass out and check even further. And then I don't always do the 5 mils twice a day or 7.5 or, like that kind of thing. Is when I prescribe, and this might be a whole different podcast, is I look at the therapeutic dosing of the ingredients, and it's a whole, whether it's low, medium, or high dose, like all these kind of things in there. And when I structure my herbal formula, it might be 12 mils 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Could be 15 mils twice. Like there's no magical number I add it up to.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of, they might get 2 bottles to last them the 2 weeks instead of 1, because you're prescribing for the length of time for them to come back rather than come back in 5 days.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way how I prescribe. And going back to the powder extemporaneous cases we talked about in a couple of times now, is again, it's not always a teaspoon or a scoop.
Yeah.
It's based on the different levels, and it's not just sensitivity, it's a combination of things.
Yeah, totally.
And typically, acute is more frequent, higher or lower dose, depending on the sensitivity of the person.
Yeah.
And chronic is more sort of less doses per day and longer term. And the way how to find out sensitivity is you ask the question, have you ever taken herbs before?
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a multivitamin or an immune product or anything else? And most people have at some stage.
Yeah.
And you can just ask them the question, how did you feel?
Yeah.
When did you notice the difference? And if someone says, oh, I noticed it the same day, and you think, well, that's pretty good, nail on the head, that one.
Yeah.
And they only took it twice and they noticed the difference. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
Because not to put much pressure on myself, for the listeners, I like to see results in 3 days.
Yeah, so do I.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
And that keeps me on my toes.
Yep.
But it's not the result.
No,
it's a
change.
result.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to see a change in energy or sleep or something that's, you're not going to fix them because that's the wrong term. But the idea is, because that means they're broken to start with.
Yeah.
If you think of it this way, that if they see results relatively quickly, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the pressure I put on myself when I'm prescribing, because I want to see a change.
Yep.
And if someone says, they come back and they say, 2 weeks later, your herbs didn't work, what's going on? A lot of new and younger practitioners think it's their fault.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I put so much time into that and it didn't work. They get all upset. And I've had, people cry about their formulas not working. I said, no, it's not your formula that didn't work.
Yeah.
It's taking time to work.
Yeah.
So you have to give it time.
And that's that
2 weeks is not a long time to change 10 years.
Yeah. And that's that questioning as well. So if you've done that case taking to find out all those symptoms in the first place, because the symptoms are what's bothering them.
Yeah.
That's why they've come to you, because of their symptoms.
It's a
They've
signpost
totally
we've got
come to you
on.
because the toe hurts, the finger hurts, the shoulders hurt, or, whatever it is, the long-term headache. They've come to you with all those symptoms. And then you found other symptoms as you were talking to them that they didn't realize. So, you've talked about their bowels and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's
Only go once a week. Is that okay?
Yeah, I go once a week, and they're like, oh, that's totally cool. I'm happy with that. And so when they come back and they say nothing's changed, and the practitioner goes, that's me, I'm useless, I'm rubbish. Then you go back through all of those. Oh, actually, I'm going to the toilet every other day now, but nothing else. So we've got to change.
Yes.
And that's the thing as well, reiterating to the client. So there is a change. We've got to change here.
So what was your energy? How's your energy? Oh, it's nothing changed. Well,
Yeah.
out of 10,
yeah,
what would you say it is today? And they might say 7.
Yeah.
You look back on your notes. 2 weeks ago, you said 5.
Mm.
So there appears to be an improvement. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get more done by the end of the day when I used to be more sleepy. And it's like, there you go. They forgot.
Yeah.
Because something's improved. That's the thing to remember, particularly, all levels of practitioner, is people forget when something improves because they focus on the next thing.
Yeah.
So if they say nothing changed, it's like there's not really a time that you'll ever see nothing at all change.
Absolutely.
Something always changes.
If they've done the diet things you've asked them to do, if they've taken the herbs or the supplements, the compounds, there will have been a change somewhere. It might be that they've gone, I've now, 2 days later, help, I'm now going to the toilet 20 times a day. And you think, okay, let's go back and revisit the compound. Let's go back and revisit what it is. Okay, let's quarter the dose. Let's stop it for 2 days and then restart at a quarter of the dose and see where we go, because it might be that I'm pushing it a bit too hard. But there's always a change, and they have forgotten that because, as you said, they're concentrating on the next thing. They've just moved on. They've got, oh, well, that's, I didn't think about that. That wasn't something that was my priority, but it's changed. So once we see, because it might not be their priority symptom that's changed. And so we've got to really focus in and find those changes. I mean, you said that on the first appointment, you always prescribe, and I've got to say, I pretty much always prescribe as well. My caveat is if they are on 5 heavy duty drugs or more, I don't prescribe at the first appointment. I do food. I'm like, you have to change.
That's still prescribing.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I wanted to. That's what I kind of wanted to put out there, is because I think people might have heard that I always prescribe at the first appointment. I know you talked about diet, but I just wanted to reiterate out there, folks, we do generally prescribe, but there is always diet change. Always diet change. Every single person, and that's a prescription nutritionist. There's always diet change. And then after that, there may or may not be a supplement. I might do bark flowers. If they feel that, aren't I taking anything away? Yeah, you can have some bark flowers because I'm not giving you anything else. Because I don't know,
And that's the exciting thing, is you're always doing something. And what I really like, you said, is I ask them to do this.
Yeah.
You don't tell.
No.
You ask them. So it's like what I said earlier is, how was your day? What can I do for you today? And we have similar kind of greetings. Is you're asking them what you could do, and then you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
So if they turn around and say, oh, like I missed a couple of doses, you go, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get angry about you missed a couple of doses. So what? Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took double the dose the next day. Okay, you didn't need to, but that's okay. It's not going to, cause any major issues, depending on what it is, of course.
Yeah.
But the idea is that's okay. If you miss one dose, move on to the next dose.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If it's breakfast and dinner, wait to dinner. Or if it's around lunchtime and you can take it, still take it at lunchtime and then again at dinner. It doesn't matter, and that's what you have to give the permission to your patients about, and to yourself, is that if you skip something or miss something, it's okay.
Okay.
Because you'll get it the next time. You'll find it the next time. And that comes with experience that, I learned, a long time ago. And it's like you just sit there and you go in there and you jump in, you dive in and you do it. And you be yourself.
Yeah.
And I've never followed scripts. I've never followed protocols, and people know that. I don't have any protocols written down or follow any protocol, because I personalize for every single person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
that means I'm not going to miss anything. I'm not doing a checklist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have a course that people can purchase. There's a boost for me in there on scripts and practice, because I say the same things over again and I get these results and I get people on board. And you're a natural as well, and that you're saying them, but people aren't. And so they're all just the start of the line. When I see you next time, we will. You know, and it's like what can I do for you today? It's all of these little things that people, because they're so worried about the whole experience, the whole, what am I going to do with this person, that they forget this future pacing. They forget to get the person, to draw them out and find out about them and their problem and what's going on with them and how they can help them without telling them what to do.
And that's the other thing, you know, they forget. And it's so simple that one of the things that people do forget, and this is something I want to remind all your, you know, younger practitioners. I never know what to call them.
I know.
But I don't like calling them newbies because it sounds a bit, you know, but we do. What we do. Colleagues. Our colleagues and friends, is that one thing people do forget to do is rebook.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of that when you're talking about scripting is, you know, I always say to people, you know, I'd like to see you again in 2 weeks is the same time good for you, or similar, depending on the person. And you haven't looked in your diary yet. You just, you know, you're guessing that, you know, you're thinking ahead, and then you open it up and, you know, and the same time's available. So they may be able to come in at 4 o'clock next time instead of 3 o'clock because they've got something else before. That's fine. But I always say to them, you know, and that's what I was, you know, when teaching student clinic at the same time, when you're rebooking, don't think they're going to call you and rebook. You need to book them back in before they leave. And then you just, that's what the simple words are. Is the same time in 2 weeks good for you, or whatever phraseology you want to do. And absolutely. They go, oh, this person really cares. They actually don't see it as a money-making thing.
No.
They see it because you got the genuine to it. Is they see you actually thinking, okay, you've already said this bottle will last 2 weeks. The treatment plan's for 2 weeks. So you're going to see me in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
rather than an open-ended, here you go. That's like, here you go, off into the wild and then fend for yourself. It's like, here you go, off into the wild and fend for yourself, but I'll see you back in 2 weeks' time to see how well you're going. And that's the simplicity of it. And people will book back in. And sometimes they might say, look, I don't know just yet because I've got a couple of things on, but I'll let you know now. And you already know this, but I'll let listeners know. The person will almost always call back or email back within that same day or within a couple of days doing the appointment. Because you've shown enough that you care and you've got a plan for them. And that's what I was saying earlier. I've got a plan. I'm working all this structure out for them. And you tell them, I've got a big plan for you on your health journey or whatever. And then from there, they know that you've got them and that you're going to help them, you're going to look after them. And then you're then saying, you know, I'd like you to come back in 2 weeks so we can follow up. Now, everyone has a different way without sounding desperate. It's like, I've got no one in my calendar. You can have any time you like, kind of thing. It's more the fact that you care. And, you know, and just so you know, so I've seen people, they go, I show people, you know, my diary and let them pick a date. I'm like, oh my God.
Don't do
One, never show your diary to anyone for several reasons. One, if you don't have a lot of bookings, they see you don't have a lot of bookings. And two, it's something called confidentiality. They may see, oh, that's John Smith. I know John, he lives down the road from me. We're good mates. It's like, oh my God, you've broken confidentiality, you're done. So it's like you never show anyone, and you never give, as a personal view, never give too many choices.
No.
So I'm available next Wednesday between 10 and 11, 11 and 12, 1 and 3, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. So it's like, I've got no one booked in that day, so you can have any time you like. And it's something that as a newer practitioner struggles to fill in the book. And as you get more experience, the book fills itself. And I've had some, you know, students go to being practitioner and have bookings really quickly because, you know, we support them as health professionals ourselves, and we do, both of us do mentoring, and we support them and they feel supported, which is always a good start. And they actively work on it. They work on themselves, and they don't have, you know, I don't know how to say this. It's not the desperate dollar signs, but people see that.
Yeah.
So if you have the genuine heart of what you do, and you say to someone, I'd like to see you back in 2 weeks for a review.
Yep.
They know it's not because you're wanting to go to the cafe and buy a coffee afterwards for the money you just earned.
Yeah.
Right? They know that you actually genuinely care.
Yeah, totally. The my hairdresser years ago. So I said, somebody'd phoned. I think I was in the hairdresser, and somebody phoned and said, could they book an appointment? And I said, I'll have to ring you back. It's just too noisy where I am at the moment, and I'll be done in 20 minutes or something, and I'll give you a call. And I hung up from them, and she said, was that someone booking in? And I said, yeah, I'll have to have a look at the diary and see what I've got. And she said, now, what you do is you say to them, I haven't got my diary. So my diary's on my phone. What do you prefer, mornings or afternoons?
Yes.
And then they say, an afternoon. Great. What day, before I open my diary, what day do you prefer? And I'll have a look and see what time I have. A Thursday afternoon would be really good. Just before I pick the kids up, because they'll start blathering on and they'll tell you. And then you can go, okay, just hang on a second while I look at my diary. Oh, because the diary is completely empty. You go back to the phone and you go, I've actually got Thursday at 2 p.m. How does that work for you?
That's great.
That'd
Thanks.
be brilliant. That'd be great. And then I can go straight from you to pick up the kids. Oh, marvelous. That's fabulous. And I'll see you then. So you're not giving anything away.
And it is simple as that. It's as simple as that. Now you ask the question, the best day and time for you.
Yeah.
How long did that take me to say?
Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. It's like
a handful of seconds. Yeah. That's all it takes. And then they can turn around and say, like you said, Wednesdays are better for me before I pick up the kids, because the other days I've got something else, piano lessons or whatever it is.
And they will. They'll tell you. They'll start marching.
Very happy.
What they're doing.
Very happy
happily
to
tell you. So
you got to. It's very easy to get the information out of them that way, then, isn't it? It. I'm free between these times. Done. That's right. We'll book you in right away.
So we ought to be done as well, and then I will go and book another time with you to come back and talk, because we've had an absolutely fabulous time.
Yes.
So thank you again so much for coming on the show, and your information is in the show notes, as it has been for the last couple of episodes. And so if people want to contact you, your links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant having you back again. Thank you, Brett.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.